Okay, somebody let me know that this is working. Sorry it took so long. I'm a little late. I was stuck in hair and makeup. Cheers. How do I know if anyone's even watching? Okay, all right. There are people here. So I think the first thing I need to say is that if this is choppy or dropping out or whatever, please tell me, because my internet connection here at Huge Headquarters is hot garbage. So let me know if it's not working out and we'll just shut it down. I had a hotspot off my phone. Long story. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well. Cheers. Hopefully it's not super crazy cold where you are, because I know there's a lot of that going on right now. Not super cold here, but it is really nasty outside. So thanks for dropping by. There's probably like really professional YouTube-y ways to set this up and go about it, but I don't know if you know me, you know that's not really my style. I just got to wing it. So that's what we're going to do. I don't have any questions prepared from ahead of time. I'm going to rely on you and the live feed here. I would like to, I've done this a few times, and I've answered a lot of questions in a lot of places over the years. I would like to try to avoid questions that I've already answered, or super basic questions. How'd you get into fly fishing? What's your favorite fish to catch? Not that those aren't valid questions, but it seems like that's the kind of thing that comes up every time, and all that stuff's been well documented. So bonus points for you if you if you have creative or original questions. So I am ready. Rex Lee is here. Hey, buddy. Hey, man. I was thinking about you today. Happy holidays. Oh, yeah. It's happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Festivus, whatever you're into. It's that time of year. All right, we'll jump in. Favorite fly shop? Maybe I maybe have talked about this before. I wouldn't say I have a favorite, but I'll promo to some shops that I think are exceptional. Honestly, the first one that comes to mind is Steamboat Fly Fisher in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I'm biased. I have friends that work there and own it, but it's a fantastic fly shop. They have everything you need, and they're right on the river. That always helps too. Another good fly shop is Charlie Craven's shop in Arvada, Colorado. Obviously, Charlie's a fly tying legend, but I found that the shop is very accessible, and obviously the fly tying selection is one of the best around. Another one, a newer shop that I went to recently, was the Fly Box in Tennessee. I made a video there last winter, actually almost a year ago, a little less than a year ago, winter smallmouth fishing. And the Fly Box is more, I wouldn't say it's more trout centric. It's just closer to a trout river than smallmouth river. But Jonathan and Chelsea are the owners, and it's a different kind of fly shop. And the way it was explained to me is that Jonathan didn't want to have a lot of extraneous stuff in his store. He said, I want my shop to be, if you took my drift boat and flipped it upside down, everything that fell out, that's what's in my shop. And I think that's a pretty fantastic way to approach it, because a lot of fly shops have some pretty silly stuff in there that they're, the shop owners wasting their money on, in my opinion. And another good thing about that shop is they've got a bar with beer on tap, and they'll make you sandwiches. So like, it's a great model. I think if you're going fishing that day, the shop is on your way to the river, so you stop and get your sandwiches for the day and go do your thing. And then on the way back out, you can stop and have a beer. I wonder if he's got an ice machine there. That would be really handy, I think. Sell some ice. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Talk to Jonathan about that. All right. Sorry, I have to read questions. Are you swinging for steelhead this winter? There's chatter about that, possibly Olympic Peninsula trip in March. I know that they open the season or whatever. They have some sort of thing where they decide if there's going to be a season, probably, based on fish returns, I would imagine. There's been some chatter about that, but it kind of went quiet recently, but possibly early March. I'm not super excited for, I shouldn't say this, man, but I'm not, steelhead don't get me like super fired up. It's more something I have to check the box. I think I'm going to get bored. And it's not that I get bored when I'm not catching fish. That happens all the time. I think I get more bored when I'm not catching fish and I'm on foot instead of in a boat. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I have some steelhead experience. A long time ago, I lived in a tributary to the Columbia, and I hooked 2 steelhead. I lived there for like 2 months, and I hooked 2 steelhead. Both jumped. They were both big, but I haven't landed one. So it's sort of an itch I need to scratch. And also the people that I want to go with are one of them I know, and one of them, Kyle, is somebody that I would like to know. He seems like a cool guy, and he's given me the invite. So Kevin, you're probably not watching this, but that kind of conversation kind of fell flat. Let's spark it up again. Here's one from the man Fly Fish Dan. What's up, Dan? If you have not seen Dan's YouTube channel, check it out, Fly Fish Dan. It's different than mine, but you might like it. Have you ever hosted a trip since starting your YouTube channel? And if so, would you do it again? I've done one, and I'm getting ready to do my second one. So it's a new thing for me that I'm trying to navigate, and by no means have I figured it out or dialed. I did my first one last summer. It was a 3-day overnight float in a wilderness canyon, and I brought, I think, 5 clients to the table or to the river, and it was a fantastic time. We had an awesome time, and we're actually doing that trip again, and I'm bringing 2 more clients. There's going to be 8 of us, including me, and I also am doing one in this February coming up to Chile, to trout fishing, to a place called Vista Patagonia Lodge in Coyhaique, Chile. I don't know much about it. I've never been there. I know about the lodge and everything. That's all vetted, but I don't know much about the area or anything. So that's obviously a much bigger logistical thing and more expensive. So I filled that trip, and that is 7 people plus myself. And, maybe this is a more industry specific discussion, but in my limited experience, those 2 deals, the raft trip and the South America thing, the structure of all the hosted trip stuff there is totally different. Like, they're not set up the same at all. And I feel like I have to learn how to navigate this space, which I'm learning. I'm already doing it better than the first one. But apparently the first one didn't suck too bad, because I've got 2 people coming back from that one. But it's a fun side aspect, and it has potential to be more than a side aspect. And it not only allows me to travel and fish, but some of it allows me to actually get paid, which is nice. I mean, because it's one thing to get to go somewhere for free, but to be able to support my family while I'm doing that is a lot nicer. So Dan, hit me up if you have more questions about it. But disclaimer, I'm still pretty fresh into it, and I'm still learning myself. All right. I'm just going to take the next one I see. What would you say, from Buck Trout Adventures, what would you say for advice for a young fella trying to get into the fly fishing industry? Well, first, I think before advice, I should give you some realities, just so you're not blindsided. For a long time, you're going to make hardly any money, and you're going to work your ass off. And the working your ass off is probably the first bit of advice. If you want to go the guide route, which is pretty easy, honestly, and you can walk up to a lot of outfitters just off the street and get hired to be a guide. But just know that you're going to start at the bottom of the totem pole. Everyone else is going to get there, get to work before you do. One thing that'll probably help is if there's a shop, that a shop and outfitter, hang out in the shop, sell your own trips. The very first trip that I ever did, the owner told me, he's like, listen, you're bottom of the totem pole, but if you want to hang out in the shop and try to sell a trip, you can have that trip if you sell it. So if you're associated with a shop, hang out in the shop and try to sell your own trip, but be ready to be the low man and to work your ass off. Another thing that I would say is be nice to everyone. I probably don't set a good example of doing that myself, but I'm not trying to be in the mainstream industry, to be honest with you. But be nice to everyone. It's a very small community. You never know when you're going to bump into someone from your past or that you've worked with before. And you want to maintain those relationships. Also, keep your black book. Stay on top of that. Your client list. A long time ago, it used to be like you'd have your client list. You'd send them like a Christmas card or something. But those days are kind of over. Now you can just send them an email. But that black book, your client base, is incredibly valuable. You asked how to get into the industry, and I've pretty much just been talking about guiding. Like I said, that's one of the easiest ways. Beyond that, it's a good question. I'd probably just say find a skill and whether it's marketing or something like that, and apply to fly fishing companies. A lot of times they don't care if you know how to fish at all, as long as you can make a cool Instagram post or something like that for their marketing team. But I'm not a typical industry person, so I don't know if I'm the best person to ask on that, but I appreciate your question. Thank you. What else do we got? Oh gosh, there's way down there. Have you ever fished in Michigan? Brian Marks asks. I know you have commented on its fishery in general, but outside of migratory species, there's a lot to offer. No, I haven't fished there. No, I'm well aware that there's a lot to offer. And I just think it's hilarious. Michigan guys are friggin' intense, man. Like a little too intense for me. I don't like to take my fishing that seriously, to be honest with you. So they got a lot of cool fisheries up there. I think I'd have to have a boat. I've heard a lot about the crowding, like specifically on the PM and things like that. It can be pretty insane when fish start coming up out of the lakes. So that's pretty unappealing. There's a few guys that are doing open water muskie. I've been muskie fishing on one trip, so I'm pretty much an expert. But that sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like a lot of banging your head against the wall, but that's probably muskie fishing in general. But it sounds like a blast. I think that's just cool to be able. I mean, because you're in a river, it's like cast there. You see something that looks fishy. If you're on Lake Michigan, it's a little harder, man. Obviously, you have electronics and you're reading the bottom and stuff like that. But I think it's a much more daunting task. Not to mention that Big Lake is dangerous. Kyle, the geologist, what's up, pal? What's in store for you and your channel in 2023? You've been at the tube thing for a few years now. Are you getting burned out? No, I'm not getting burned out. It's getting more challenging, I would say, because I have I don't know if running out of the topic ideas is the right word, but maybe it is. There are fewer topics for me to choose from, but I'm also setting myself to a little higher standard now. I mean, obviously my production quality is low. I've mentioned that, but I'm concentrating more on what's coming out of my mouth and just making it a little easier to watch, not so seizure inducing. I'm talking I'm getting thirsty. Take a second and have a drink of your beer or your milkshake or whatever you're drinking. No, I'm not getting burned out. If anything, it's just getting more and more fun. And I feel like I'm getting more into my rhythm and I'm getting into my groove. I've gone over 4 years posting a video every single week. I think that's kind of crazy. I'm proud of myself. It's a lot of work. I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it. I thought for sure somewhere along the way I'd be like, oh, I was busy. I missed this week, whatever. But that hasn't happened. So I feel like I'm falling into my rhythm, and I can crank these videos out. Like Kyle, over on the pay channel on my OnlyFans, lately I've been 2 weeks ahead of YouTube. That feels good. When I'm not like, oh my God, it's Saturday and I don't have a video yet, and I got to post it on Monday because that's happened before too. So what's happening in 2023? I talked about Chile. I would like to not say specifically where I'm going, but I can give you some hints. So I don't have anything in January, and I'll have a video up on my pay channel actually tonight talking a little bit more about that. Don't have anything in January. Chile is February. March is redfish and bass in the southern United States. I've got one trip where I'm going to do redfish and bass. I'm excited for bass because I've tried to do bass fishing videos multiple times, and I've just gotten hosed both times by weather and water conditions. I do not have a good bass fishing video, and I know I am capable of it. Best bass fishing video I have is taking the kids tenkara fishing with live shiners, I think. So that's March. April, I'm going back to my favorite river. Same thing we did. We have an annual 420 trip. Seems like it's becoming it has been an annual thing for a while. So I'm doing that in April. May, I think I have something, but I can't remember. June, I'm sure I'm going to be trout fishing a lot, close-ish to home in June. July, I am going to the Low Country, and I'm going to sweat my butt off and probably go red fishing. It's not Charleston, it's somewhere else, but it's an interesting deal. I've been there a few times, and I've caught I've caught a triple tail, I caught a big jack, and I jumped a big tarpon. Have yet to catch a redfish, and you would think that's the primary target. So that is July. August, we're talking about a river trip. September, I have a river trip, my annual family river trip. Then that end of September, going muskie fishing again. And I think that's as far out as I'm planned, is next September. And obviously there's going to be a ton of stuff in between there that is not planned yet. But Kyle, give me a call. We'll make something happen. Appreciate you asking. All right. Josh Holbert. Speaking of muskie, you're always welcome to a seat in my boat in the Northwoods and check off that muskie off the list. First of all, notice the hat, Josh. That's Josh's hat. Northwoods Fly Fishing. That's Northwoods Fly Fisher, Hayward, Wisconsin. So I'm going back to your area. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to get to see you. I have that whole week is 3 or 4 or 5 days is pretty planned, but I would like to go see some of the people that I saw this past September in Wisconsin. And Josh, you're definitely on that list. So, or maybe you come over and have dinner with us one night. I don't think we're too far away from where you are. So, what else we got? Oh yeah, super chat and give me some cash. Yeah, I should have done that. That's how good I am at this stuff, dude. I went to start this thing and there was this whole process I had to go through. I'm not good at this. Best fried chicken. Excellent question. Probably answered before, but always worth answering again. Kind of the gold standard of commercially available fried chicken is Publix for sure. If you don't have a Publix, then probably Popeyes. Excuse me. What's the longest number of days rafting trip you've done? Love that. I was just talking about that trip today with somebody. 90 miles over 9 days. It was pretty fantastic. We started at a dam, and then we did this excuse me. Oh, cheers. I do an annual river trip every year with my family. We started at the dam, and we do a 3-day trip. And then there's a little more. That's 30 miles or maybe 40. Yeah, it's 40 miles. Then there's another section, and then there's a permitted section. That's this like gnarly whitewater canyon stuff. So I do the family trip, ditch the fam. Then me and my buddy floated the in-between stretch for 2 days, I think. And then we picked up the dudes, guys trip and another boat or two. And we continued on down for another 4 days. And in that transition time, I scheduled a layover day. And so I was able to run into town and get ice and beer and things like that. And we did over that like shift change. I didn't get a shower. So I went 9 days without a shower. I probably jumped in the river at some point. But that was I'm not going to say where it is. Maybe you can gather some clues. But that is a trip that I want to do it again so bad. It took a lot of logistics, and I'm very happy that we pulled it off, and we did it in pretty spectacular fashion, I think. Oh yeah, we even flipped a boat, or I didn't, my friend did. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. 9 days, totally checked out. I guess I got to check back in when I went to the store that one day, but pretty much checked out for 9 days. Some of that is documented on my channel. I didn't document the whole trip, but there's a lot of bits and pieces from that trip. There's a video about the internet hot spotting and something else is the title. And I shot that video on that layover day. Bear with me one sec. I got to let the dog out. Woo! It's snowing and blowing out there, man. So yeah, I'd love to do that trip again. And I've done 90. I did a 60 a couple years ago, and I've done a whole bunch of 30 and 40s. Those are like 3 or 4 day trips. I think miles a day is about the max. And it's super fun. It's probably one of my favorite activities to do. Not only get to float an awesome river, but we get to fish. Yeah. Sorry, my internet is awful here. I see out there. Come on. Woo, man, skiing would be really good tomorrow if it wasn't going to be so cold. Have you ever fished? Wait, I saw something that I wanted to answer. Something about my audio is cutting completely. Sorry, man. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. Have I ever fished non-pellet pigs in North Georgia? No, but I've been around the areas you're talking about. Again, I don't want to name names, but there's not too many rivers up there. Yeah, no, there's that tailwater up there that has trout, but I would like to try to find some brook trout fishing around there. I'm sure it's there. I know a few good bass ponds up north, but the whole pellet pig thing is pretty hilarious, especially how butthurt they got. I had one of my early videos, some guy from that area, I think he messaged me directly because I was busting on the sequoia, and he's like, the quote was, we do trophy trout better than anyone. And I don't think I could continue